Digital twins, let's talk about them. They're coming and there's no avoiding it. I think digital twins are productivity smart, human stupid. And here's what I mean by that. I think being able to think about digital twins in a professional setting, in an organization, is valuable and can be incredibly valuable. There's all sorts of other second and third order implications, and I'll touch on some of those. But in a professional context, wouldn't it be great if everything we did in an organization, which is primarily digital, or it all can be digital, our emails, meeting transcripts, information we might input into systems, it's all digital. And that can all be harnessed to create a digital twin of anyone in the organization. So in the classic example of, oh, Nish got hit by a bus, are we going to miss out on his knowledge? No, we have a digital twin. And there's benefits and advantages in being able to have that capability in this age of AI. There are implications to that, though. Who owns that digital twin? Do I still get benefits when I leave the organization if my digital twin is left behind? If I do get hit by the proverbial bus, does my family get paid out a dividend of some sort because they're still using my digital twin? Is there a risk of that digital twin being left behind and over time continuing to be used? But it's like using old code because I, the human me, have left and my thinking is evolving, growing, expanding. And an older version of myself is still being used by the organization, but that's in my yesterday's thinking. So are they just using old code because they're using the digital twin of me from 2025, but it's now 2030 and I've evolved past that? So I think there's all sorts of interesting implications to think about as we think about bringing digital twins into organizations, into our professional lives. Can we build our own digital twins and then rent ourselves out to 1 or 20 or 100 different organizations? All sorts of interesting implications to think through when it comes to digital twins in a professional setting, in a work setting, in a business setting. So I think it's productivity smart, or could be productivity smart. But I think it's human stupid. People also talk about digital twins from the perspective of we could just live forever. We see a lot of the quote unquote tech bros talking about human consciousness getting uploaded to the ether and then we survive forever. And I think that's interesting. It makes for an interesting debate. And let's assume for a moment it's possible. I think back to when my mother passed away. It was the year after I turned 40. And I remember shortly after she passed away, I turned to my brother and I said, not for us, but in the future, there will be an opportunity for people to be able to speak to their mothers or other loved ones who passed away. Because as we live more of our lives online, that information can be collected, collated, harnessed to turn into a digital twin so that we can continue to speak to those that have passed away. Because as we've seen other AI tools do, it can mimic them, emulate them, sound like them. And maybe one day we'll even be able to put them into robots that look like them. But as much as I would love to talk to my mom again and others who have passed from my life, I don't want to. Because there is something about the human experience of living through loss and living through grief that gives more meaning and value to those relationships, both in the present and after they have passed. And if we don't give ourselves the opportunity of grief, if we basically code away grief from the human experience, then we are depriving ourselves of a core part of that human experience, what it means to live, what it means to love, what it means to lose, and the way in which we perceive the value of life. So I think digital twins can be productivity smart with all sorts of opportunities and implications that come out of it, but I think it's human stupid.